Hello, everybody. This is One More Road for the Beer, the beer podcast where we talk about beer, food, and travel in cities all across Europe. Today is episode 4, and I'm here with my beer Sherpa Joe Stang, and I'm Zachary Johnston. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Zach.
So, where are we going today, Joe?
Well, we are getting out of the comfort zone a little bit, right? The beery comfort zone. We're going east. We're going to Warsaw today.
Nice. Poland.
Yeah. Right now, as we record this anyway, we're in the middle of winter, and I think it's a good time to talk about Polish beer and the kind of strong beers that can help keep you warm at night.
Absolutely. That's what I sort of love about Poland right now is, like, you especially see here in Germany, but like the Baltic Porters and the smoked porters all coming out of Poland right now, coming over here, and it's like, yes, please. Keep them coming.
It's going to become apparent as we go through this show that I really, really like Baltic Porter. So if I start to enthuse, that's why I get excited about it.
Likewise, yes, especially during the winter. It's a go-to beer to have on the balcony. And but, you know, it's also interesting because Poland's changed a lot over the last 30 years for obvious reasons. And with it, the beer's changed a lot. And I think it's a little unexpected, like, because I don't think of 10 years ago, especially, I didn't think of, oh, Poland, I'm going to go drink the beer there as I would have, you know, Franconia or Czech. Yet.
Yeah, Poland is a huge beer drinking country. And you wouldn't expect it, but maybe because of stereotypes from the Cold War or whatever, we think of it as a vodka country. And it is a vodka country. They still they still love their vodka there. But it's the per capita, it's the fourth biggest for drinking, only behind the Czechs and the Germans and Austrians. So they drink a lot of beer, and they love beer, and it makes sense. They're right there in the beer belt. They grow barley, they grow hops. They're just north of the Czech Republic and just east of Germany. And of course, there's a lot of history of German migration and brewers coming over there too. But they've been brewing for a very long time. And the end of the Cold War was this sort of chance for the brewing culture to come back.
Right.
During communism, you had the nationalized breweries, most of the time not making a very exciting product. Obviously, it wasn't that kind of market. But after around 1990, then things start to open up. Not actually, it took a while, really, because the first thing that happened was the big multinationals swooped in as fast as they could and bought up the old national breweries.
And that was a lot of lager, maybe a strong random porter or something like that, but mostly we're talking lager here.
Yeah, and some of the maybe lager brands that people are familiar with, even seeing in shops in the U.S. sometimes, Żywiec and Tiskie and Lech, these are all owned by Heineken and Miller Coors and things now. So a couple of them still make good porters when we'll get to the porters. But for the most part, I think that situation laid the groundwork for what we're seeing over the past, especially 7, 8, 10 years with the craft beer blowing up in Poland like it's done everywhere else.
Yeah. I've always found it fascinating because I have friends in Chicago and you'd see like the national Polish beers and all the, Polish supermarkets, and it is the exact three you said. And so it kind of becomes ingrained in your mind. And so now, especially when we were there last time in Warsaw, it was sort of like a pleasant surprise to see all these kind of new but old styles coming back. And there was a real pure pride in the fact, like, no, these were our beers. And the love goes into it and you see it. I kind of really, it hooked me in the beer scene there.
And there's, besides the classic styles, which obviously we're maybe more interested in as foreigners, right? We want to know, hey, what are the Polish beers?
Yeah. For sure.
There's a huge amount of playing around going on with new things among the independent Polish brewers. And there are about now 200 or so, maybe more, independent Polish brewers.
Across the country.
Yeah, around the country. Yeah. And we're talking about, the quote-unquote craft breweries. Although I don't have a good handle on how many of those are actually breweries. I think many are brands that hire their recipes to be made in bigger regional breweries, which seems to work out pretty well because the quality, in my experience, has been very high. And then I've seen styles appear in Polish beer bars that before I see them anywhere else. So I saw a sour IPA 4 years ago or something.
Right.
When we went to Warsaw a couple of years ago, that was the first time I saw a beer brewed with Kveikist from Norway, like being sold commercially. It was from a Polish brewer. So they're on the cutting edge. In terms of quantity, maybe they have catching up to do, and I'm sure they're going to keep growing because it's a big country.
Do you feel that's sort of, they're kind of untethered from the hardcore bohemian Czech, like, this is how we do it, decoction and blah, blah, blah. And then you have the Germans who are like, no, this is how we do it. And in Poland, they didn't really have, the Reinheitsgebot or any of that. Like, no, this is the way. It's more just like, well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think that's a nice way to put it, yeah. It's a bit like, imagine restarting a beer culture after the Cold War. I mean, you get to start from scratch. It's like having your old town center be completely destroyed and having to rebuild in a new way. That's sort of what they're dealing with. And
Much like Warsaw.
yeah, there you go.
Well, that's what's interesting as well. There seems to be, it's not like a single beer center either. Like we were talking about Warsaw today, but you go to Gdansk or Warsaw or Poznan or et cetera, there's just as deep burgeoning scenes in those smaller cities too.
Yeah, loads of beer in those places and lots of bars, lots of what they call in Poland multi-taps, which I like that word a lot. And I keep meaning to sort of use it more in English because I think it's a more accurate way to describe what we usually just call lazily a craft beer bar.
Okay.
It's a multi-tap. It's a bar with a whole bunch of taps. It's a place you're going to get variety. And the reason, we pick Warsaw over, I really enjoy Poznan. I really enjoy Wrocław. I've never been to Krakow, actually, but I can...
It's got a great scene there, too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, we might get there in an episode.
Maybe, yeah, we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Warsaw has more than 50 of these multi-tap bars.
Right.
So it's just like a playground if you want to go and drink a bunch of different kinds of beer. It's wonderful.
And are they more concentrated, or is it kind of the whole city's a playground?
I mean, most of them are in the center of the city, but center being, different to a local than to us, right? So to us, they seem kind of spread out, but actually, you can walk to everything. There's a few in the old town center near the market square, but my sense is that there's even more of them a little bit farther out around Centrum, where we stayed before. There's a lot of multi-taps in that area. Maybe in a lot of cities, it's a question of real estate. Maybe is or was cheaper there to set up. I imagine that's true. I think we were saying earlier that could be a good place to base yourself because there's budget hotels there and plenty of bars to walk to.
Well, walking is, it's not crucial in Warsaw because there's a tram and there's a very small underground and buses, but being able to walk Warsaw is nice. It makes it much more accessible.
Yeah, you can walk off all the calories from the Baltic Porter too.
Yeah, and it's also, it is the epitome of comfort food.
It is. It's like comfort food distilled, which in the beer bars is tricky to find because the beer bars tend to be sort of in this American or international style. So you find pizza and burgers and wings and a lot of
Guns
the beer
N'
bars.
Roses and
brick
walls.
Yeah, which is fun.
Yeah.
But if you want to eat some really good pierogies or something, then you may have to veer away from a beer bar for a while, although I have a really good suggestion that actually you can do both.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Let's get back a little bit to Polish beer a bit and what's going on there. Let's say I'm going there, I'm fresh, I'm green. I've never heard about anything this scene. What's this first sort of beer I should be looking for? That's emblematic.
Yeah, well, I think Baltic Porter is the emblematic Polish beer. You could also make a case for Grodzickie as like a classic traditional beer that was extinct for a while, and some home brewers revived it. Then professional brewers got interested in it, and now they're brewing it again thanks to Browar Fortuna, a pretty good regional craft brewery. They restarted brewing in Grodzisk again. Okay. So it's proper Grodzickie, and it is a light, around 3%. It's a wheat beer. It's bitter. It's dry, and it's oak smoked.
Right. Sounds very sessionable.
You would think so. It's an acquired taste. This is why maybe I wouldn't suggest it as the entry point. I think on a hot day, it goes down really nicely, but it is a strange taste. The smoke is pretty aggressive. The bitterness is pretty aggressive. Some people love that beer, especially brewers seem to really like the beer, but it doesn't have a huge foothold in the public imagination, let's say.
I sort of have a theory about that, like why Berliner Weisse as well became, because brewers, I think their palates just get so dulled. They need those big, just something different flavors for them to like feel something again. But so let's go back one step here. Baltic Porter, let's just pretend I'm a layman. What makes Baltic Porter different than, say, Deschutes Black Boot Porter?
Right. So here's the funny thing about Baltic Porter. It wasn't Baltic Porter until Michael Jackson discovered it, the British beer writer. He described it as Baltic Porter to differentiate it from porter.
Okay.
Right? In Poland, they just call it porter most of the time, although now they've sort of adopted the Baltic designation for it, and they're proud of it. But if you're in Poland and they say a porter, you know what they mean. They're not talking about a 4 or 5% quaffer. They're talking about these big, can be 10, 11% alcohol beers.
Yeah.
They tend to be bottom fermented, so they're lagers technically. And this goes back to a lot of the breweries. That's the yeast that they had. They knew how to make lager, but they wanted to make, originally the stories that they were influenced by the big strong porters and stouts that were being shipped from Britain to Russia,
right,
and stopping at the ports along the way and so on. So that's the idea that it came from this, and they kept up the porter brewing tradition even through the Cold War. So they tend to be if you get acquainted with Polish Baltic Porter, a lot of the other big, strong black beers out there in the world are not going to satisfy you anymore because the Baltic Porter has the kind of body and thickness that you think you're going to get when you usually get, say, an Imperial Stout. And then you have it, and then it's like, actually, that seems kind of thin, but it's good. The Baltic Porter is thick. And the thing that they do in Poland that I enjoy, in the same way that some American breweries will put IBUs on a label for bitterness, and it used to be a kind of a joke, like how high can you make the IBU number go, and the geeky drinkers are interested in that kind of thing, right? In Poland, it's about degrees Plato.
Okay.
So it's thickness. It's actually a measure of how much malt went into the beer before fermentation.
And is that similar to the Czech degree Plato? Is it the same?
Yeah, same.
Same.
It's the same. I mean, they use balling, but it's really close. The number is a good indicator of richness, body, and strength. There seems to be a bit of an arms race for how high can you push that number, and you get up into the 20s, and that's big stuff, and then some of them you see like 26 or even higher. So these are big beers.
This is going to put you back in your seat.
Yeah, I'm not going to drink this all evening. This is maybe you have one with a meal, or you have one at the end of the night, or
No, I know what you mean. It's sort of like whenever I look at these big Baltic Porters with the big ABVs or plateaus, it's always like, hey, let's split one to kind of get the night started or to kind of end the night, because to me, there's a little more ceremony to it and there's a little more camaraderie if you split a bottle as opposed to trying down a hole in yourself and then you just kind of get dizzy and things spin away.
Yeah, it's a good one for sharing. Yeah, it's also a good one for not sharing. If you're home at night and you're putting your feet up and just relaxing before going to bed, that's you some big thick socks and sit next to the radiator and have a book and don't need to share with anybody if you're doing that.
It's very, very true. And also I like the idea of just it warms you up, but they're also doing a lot of smoke stuff with their porters as well. We went to a place where they're throwing in smoked plums and things like that.
Yeah, right. So I think there's certain motifs you see when you look at the Polish tap lists and the multi-taps. By the way, there's a great website in Poland. I've never seen this on this level in other countries. I mean, now more bars are putting their tap lists on Untapped, for example. But in Poland, they have a website called ontap.pl, and all 50 multi-taps in Warsaw are on there. Or there's, maybe there are other multi-taps that aren't on there, but basically everybody buys into this system and it keeps their tap list up to date all the time. You can even search for a specific beer. You want to see if anybody has it on tap in town. There's a map view. It's a really great little tool. And I think it's been one of the things that sort of helped the scene develop in this way.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
There's certain motifs you see on these tap lists when you look. You see big malt. You see smoke, rye, but you also, of course, see lots of IPAs like everywhere else, and wheat beers. They like wheat beers too, and so smoke is right there with some of the better Baltic Porters are smoked. My favorite is Widawa, great little brewery down, I think it's east of Warsaw. You don't always see the beers around Warsaw, but definitely hunt them down if you can. That's just big, thick, gorgeous. The smoke is pretty subtle. He also puts it in bourbon barrels and rum barrels sometimes and things, which is great. But I just kind of like the pure 24 degree beer. It's big.
That's big.
He does it, I think, a 19 degree or something too. But I think if you're gonna go big, go all the way, right? So.
Right. So now we got sort of a handle on kind of what the beers are happening there and special beers. So you just said there's 50 multi-taps on ontap.pl. Where would you start for a Baltic Porter in Warsaw at a multi-tap?
I don't know, but I think a good one would be Jabberwocky. If you're familiar with craft beer bars, you'll be kind of familiar with this place. I mean, it does, like you were saying, the exposed brick, dangly light bulbs, chicken wings, and hot dogs. Yeah. But they are very friendly. They have a great tap list. I think 17 taps. They have also a good selection of bottles, and they will, they'll help you out. If you're looking for something or want to try something, they'll always have cool suggestions for you. I also like on the tap list, this is nerdy stuff, you can revel in, but they have a little scale for each beer for sweetness and bitterness and color. Ooh, so you kind of get a handle on what you're getting. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah,
especially with the sweetness. That's rare that people actually care to put that up, because I care about that, because you get so many beers that are overly sweet, especially when you're getting into heavier malty stuff. It's sort of like, ooh, am I drinking a milkshake here, or is this actually a beer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's an interesting thing to know when you're going into some of the big maltier beers that I think Poland does very well. Another beer that you can get there, or at least it's the only place I've had it twice, but it's from one of my favorite Polish breweries is Kormoran. They make a Baltic Porter with smoked prunes. And it's I think, Suska Seklonska. Yeah, we're going to say some things wrong, but that's really close. We'll put it up on the show notes, and you'll be able to get the right spelling for these. But it's this delicacy of the area just east of Krakow in the countryside, and they've been drying plums this old-fashioned way using beechwood fires for a long time, a few hundred years. And the reason plums is because the soil there wasn't that great, but plum trees are very not very demanding. So there's a real terroir thing here, and it's very much like a Polish treat.
You can pop them in your mouth all day long if you don't watch out.
Yeah, and they're not sweet like prunes. Like they're tangy and it's wonderful. And to put that then into this rich black malty beer, they don't add any smoked malt. All the smoke comes from the plums, and you can taste it, and it's subtle but there, and then that vinous like wine-like tartness with that like a little acidic touch from the fruit, and it's just wonderful stuff. That's probably Poland's most sought-after beer. So, and Jabberwocky might be where you can find it.
So from Jabberwocky, since it's in Centrum and sort of walking distance, would it be a place we could walk to next after that? After we've got our smoked plum infused beer.
So I think we could make our way into the center, for example, the Old Town Center, and about halfway there seems like would be a place called Piwpaw, Piwpaw. There's a few locations, but this one is also called Beer Heaven. And when you walk in, you kind of see why.
Yeah.
95 taps in there. Why do they have 95 taps? Because they can. And the wall of beers is impressive. You want to snap pictures of it. If you remember the first time we were there, they would only serve beer in half liters.
Yes.
They would give you a little taste, but if you wanted a beer, it had to be a half liter. So you want a lager? Half liter. You want a Baltic Porter? 12% alcohol? Half liter.
Yeah. And it's dangerous.
Yeah. I appreciated the absurdity of you have all of this choice for beer, but when it comes to the size of beer, you have no choice. Yeah. But I've since been there and they've changed it. You can get small glasses. It's kind of disappointing, isn't it? But better for our health, I think.
Yeah, and also it allows you to be able to leave that place and go somewhere else, because it's very easy to just be like, well, I'm only 2 beers in, but they're 12% each, and I'm suddenly wasted.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's great. I mean, the selection there is just kind of mind-boggling, because I was surprised by how local the selection was. Like, yeah, they have macro brews there as well, and all the crowd pleasing stuff that people drink. But it was just like a lot of it was written in sort of on the tap, what's there right now, sort of thing, which is very nice.
And a lot of their beers are from their own sort of house brand or house brewery. They don't have a brewery in the place, but they hire the recipes out, so it's sort of their own brand. It's a wide variety of stuff. I've forgotten it possibly on purpose because the ones I had were not great.
Right.
But with 95 taps, there's going to be something there that you can drink. If you can't find a beer you want in 95 taps, we can't really help you.
Yeah, and also there's an international selection there. If I'm not mistaken, there's some nice Belgians and Germans, and it's everything kind of.
Yeah, and
a smattering of
and a fridge full of bottles, including Baltic Porters too. So and Grodzicki, and the other thing is the food there. It's pizza, which maybe you're not excited to go to Poland and eat pizza, but it's kind of cool because they put hops in the crust of the pizza. Yes. So why do they do that? Because they can. Why not?
That's fun too. I mean, you don't get that anywhere else. Plus, the atmosphere there is really sort of lively. You walk in and you got that big wall of taps, but it's beer themed. It's a beer bar, but people are going in there and having a good time without it being like, it's not rowdy like a dive bar at 2 a.m., but it's like lively and it's fun, and it's sort of kind of easy to strike up a conversation if you need to, and it's a very, again, welcoming place. I think that's a common theme throughout Warsaw. It's always welcoming.
I found that to be very much the case. I think Poland is still one of those countries where, I mean, they get tourists, but it's it's not like Paris or London or something, and they're happy that people would come visit their country.
Yeah.
And generally you're going to find that people speak English pretty well in Warsaw anyway, and other bigger cities too. Sometimes very well. They don't seriously expect you to speak Polish, so you don't have to worry about that really. Although of course it's polite to learn a few words,
and good luck with that.
Yeah. Another thing too is the prices are great, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You can get a pint of a really good locally brewed craft beer, and it's going to be a couple of bucks basically.
At most,
$2 or $3. Yeah.
And if you go slumming to some of like the local dive bars, there are still places where it's 4 zlots for just like a regular Tiki in a half liter.
That's $1.
And that's the sort of places you get sucked into with, the old men playing cards or chess and, the retired woman standing behind the bar or pouring from a tap with a sort of frown on her face, but still kind of gives you a wink when she gives you another beer. And, it's all atmosphere and old smoky, pre-communist bar. But man, it's $1 for a beer in some places.
Yeah. Where would you go to get someone to get a really cheap beer in Warsaw? If they just wanted the atmosphere, the local experience, and like a really inexpensive beer.
There's this place. It's actually around Poland. It's not just in Warsaw. It's Palnia. I'm going to butcher this first word.
Okay, you try it and then I'll try it.
It's Pialnia Wody I Piwa.
Pialnia.
Yeah, Pialnia.
I think.
And so it's a funky little place. It's kind of got a Soviet communist theme to it. White tiles. There's the staff's in like a white shirt and a black bow tie, but it's very, very much a place you go to have a few drinks and meet up with everybody before you go out, or the place you go to on the way home and get a few shots and a little bit of food in your belly before you go to bed. And what's crazy is the menu is simple. All the drinks are $4.50, 4 zlots 50.
So that's about a little more than $1. Right?
Oh yeah, and that's either for a beer. I think they have Braski unfiltered, and it comes in like a 2 centiliter glass. And all the shots are the same price, whether it's Zubrovka vodka or Soplichka, the hazelnut or cherry shot. And if you want a Coke, it's also $4.50.
Yeah.
And then they have little plates, which I believe, last time I was there, they were also $4.50. And they're sort of like just little Polish plates. So one's a beef tartare with an egg cracked on top, a piece of bread, a little bit of pickle, a little bit of onion.
Raw beef and raw egg.
Yeah, raw beef and raw egg.
Yeah, it's just what you need to soak up some vodka.
Exactly. And they have like a little bowl of zhirek, which is a sourdough soup.
Oh, yeah, the sour soup.
Especially if it's winter, you can just sit there, sip on it, and take your shot of vodka and drink your beer. And a couple other like little things. I think there's like a pickled herring and something like that. It's all, again, 2-3 bites sort of plates, but they're a buck a piece. So you can order literally one of each of the plates. I think there are 4, and you're spending $4. And everybody has a bite, and then you order beer. And I think there are 3 around Warsaw, fairly centrally located. We wandered in there, I think, at like 2 a.m, and the karaoke was going randomly. But all the lights were turned on, and
it's always really bright in there.
Yeah. And it's the sort of place, again, very local. Like, you will rarely see tourists there because I don't really think tourists know about it. For me, like, if you're tired of drinking like the heavy craft all night, and you just need like a palate cleanser, go in there, grab a beef tartare, grab a couple little beers, maybe grab a shot of Zubrovka, then you got the energy to go back out and hit the town again.
Yeah.
Like a pit stop.
Yeah, there's a little bit of nostalgia there, right, too? Like a little bit of like nostalgia for the communist days when, the not having a lot of choices, but it was cheap. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Where would you go next?
I think we head on into the Old Town Center, because you need to do that anyway, right? I mean, we're tourists. So after you do your sightseeing, you see the Old Town Market Square is quite cool. Of course, there's a lot of like, the usual sort of tchotchke souvenir shops and things, but there are a couple of really good beer options right by there now. One of them is called Same Crafty. There's 2 places. They're right across the street from each other. This is just sort of north of the square.
Now, are they both owned by the same people? Is it just like 2 rooms, or is it 2 actual different beer bars?
The street separates them, right?
Right.
But it's definitely the same people.
Right.
On one side is more of just a bar with some easy snacks and like strange pickled vegetables and things, cookies, and the other has burgers and pizza. Our favorite, right? We're traveling foreign countries. We love to eat burgers and pizza at beer bars. No, we don't. But they look pretty good. They look fine, if you need to eat something. But I have a better tip for that in a minute. Each of the bars, I think, 10 taps, I think. That's where I first saw the Quake beer outside of Norway. That's pretty impressive. They always have interesting beers. I like also how they have all of the beers that are coming up next.
That's right. Yeah. So you can plan ahead.
Yeah. So you can ask the bartender, what keg's almost empty? Can we help kick it so we can get to that one? The reason I maybe have a soft spot for this place, because it's nothing really special beer bar wise. It's useful, but given the location. But I remember that they have those fridges there, and they have a great selection of bottled Baltic Porters there. And so they've got the Cormoran and usually Vidava, and have got the Ragnar from Czech Kumpli, which is just a beast. It's a beautiful beer they don't even put that in half-liter bottles. It's too much. Just a little...
And also, the location really is one of the best, because you're still in the pedestrian zone off the Old Town Square. So, if it starts raining when you're walking around doing the touristy stuff, it's a perfect spot just to dip into for a quick couple pints while the rain stops.
Yep. Well, the other one is where I would eat.
Right.
I mean, especially if you're in Warsaw for a weekend and you want to be able to combine some really good beers with some good traditional food, the Marienstadt Craft Beer and Food place is the one. Yeah. I think that is literally the name, Marienstadt Craft Beer and Food. Marienstadt is a brewery. The brewery is not here. The brewery is about 2 hours south of Warsaw, closer to Lublin. But it is basically their brewery tap in Warsaw, and it's a great spot to be in right there in the center. And they'll usually, I think they have 12, 15 taps, something like that. I had a peek earlier, and they have their 26-degree barrel-aged Imperial Baltic Porter on, besides like a 5% lager and a wheat beer and a couple of different kinds of IPAs, like a sour mango IPA. And so the beers are fun. You'll be able to get something traditional if you don't want another IPA. You can get something Polish that's, it's convincingly Polish. But so is the food, and that's what I like. It's not burgers and pizza here. You can get, a plate of pierogies with cheese and onions in them, or sour cream and pork in there, and that's around 25 zloty, so
$5.
$6 maybe, yeah.
And it's a big plate, folks. It's not a small portion. It's almost splittable.
And if at that price, go ahead and get another if you're still hungry, man. Yeah. If you want something bigger, they change the menu around every season, but it might be a roast duck, roast chicken with kielbasa sauce.
Oh, yeah.
What is that, kielbasa? I don't know what that is, but I need it. And for snacks, stuff like Polish pancake with beets and pickled herring on it. It's a great beer snack.
Well, you got to get bigos if you're in Warsaw, because it's just sort of cabbage, sauerkraut, sausage, pork, all mixed together with spices and tomato, and it's just amazing.
It is deeply comforting.
Especially with a nice, big, fresh, crisp beer on the side, just to cut through all the unctuous fattiness. And
it's one of those dishes that it may come with a shot of vodka if you find a traditional restaurant.
Yeah, legitimately. That's the great thing about pierogies as well, is they're versatile. So you'll get them with kasha, with buckwheat in them. You'll get them with the Ruski style with mashed potatoes and cheese. Then there's all sorts of different ones depending on where you go and seasonally. And you're starting to see a little more artisanal ones now. So you'll get some stuffed with squash in the fall and ransoms in the spring. And so the food scene there is burgeoning in a way that the beer scene has been over the last 10 years, where suddenly everything from the outside of the city and the vast agricultural country it is coming back in to be part of the food culture, and it's great all around.
Yeah.
So what's one last stop before we head out of town?
I'm glad you put it that way, because I have only one more.
Perfect.
We hit our highlights, and these are some pretty high highlights, I think. The last one is one of the most fun, I think. It is called Pinball Station, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a little bit west of center, so you may want to take a cab. I remember walking back from that place, and it was long. So take a cab, but definitely go. They call themselves an interactive pinball museum, and they have more than 60 machines there. Also some classic arcade games too, but a lot of really cool old retro pinball games. And guess what? They have beer. They have a fridge full of different beers from Browar Amber, which is a brewery up near Gdansk. And they're a pretty good-sized regional brewery, but they do nice beers and not expensive. I think the main, Amber beer it's not amber at all. It's actually just a nice pale lager. But they do a Grand Imperial Porter, and they do a nice bock beer called Kozlak. Kozlak means, actually that's a style of beer, I think, because it means goat beer. And it's a bock beer, dark, strong lager.
Nice.
Not necessarily dark, but I think this one is.
Nice. And then also, a quick reminder, cabs are super cheap as well. You're not going to be paying an exorbitant amount for a taxi in Poland ever. So it's very easy, inexpensive to get there and back. Yeah, I think that's everything for Warsaw, yeah?
That's a good start, man. I think that's a nice little capsule of where you could go in a night or two.
Right, and also when you're there, again, like we said, everyone's so warm there. Strike up convos with the bartenders or whoever's sitting at the bar. People love to chat and see where you're from, and they can lead you into some nice hidden beer corners as well that we may not even know about yet.
Yeah. I just keep thinking about the smoke, the smoke and the sausage and the smoke and some of the beers and the smoked plums, and there's just something about the smoke that's speaks to our comfort centers, right? And comfort food and comfort beers. That's Poland, man.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. This has been our Warsaw episode number 4. Please subscribe on iTunes, rate us, download. We're also on Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox, Podbean. And you can follow us on Twitter at Road for the Beer. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at One More Road for the Beer. And you can like our posts or tell us what we're incorrect about or what you'd like to hear next. Thank you very much. And good night, everybody.
Good night.